Logan Sargeant couldn't even get onto the grid at the Dutch Grand Prix without smacking his head into the pit lane railing. Thankfully, there's not a whole lot of damage in there, and it doesn't even come close to the dollars Captain America here has racked up in his never-ending quest to understand the molecular makeup of the tyre barriers. You might think that's harsh, in which case welcome to the channel and I hope you enjoy your stay. Logan's crash in FP3 last weekend was the latest in a long line of incidents that have placed increased stress on his Formula 1 future. And we're not talking about 2025, you'd need to have a brain injury to think he'd get anywhere close to a spot anywhere else on the grid. We're now in a situation where the American looks set to be dropped mid-season, potentially as early as the next round of the championship in Monza. So let's take a trip down memory lane and work out how we got here. Sargeant entered the sport in 2023 with little to no expectations for his rookie year. Williams were still battling to be consistent midfielders, and he was replacing the one true GOAT of our sport, news that put half the fan base on antidepressants and caused the Hamilton fans around the world to throw a party. Logan's rookie season would all be about acclimatising to Formula 1. In reality, it made for pretty grim reading even after you remember he was in the Williams all year. The first concerns arose after Logan turned his FW45 into a tricycle in Baku sprint qualifying, ruling him out of the sprint race that afternoon and setting a rather worrying precedent for the American blessing the barriers in rather dramatic fashion. FP3 in Spain, FP1 in Belgium, qualifying in Japan, all of these incidents were casting doubt on the rookie's future beyond the end of the year, but there were occasional signs of progress, for example his first points in that year's US Grand Prix, or making it into the top 10 at Zandvoort, which he celebrated by hitting the barrier again in both Q3 and the race on Sunday. With hindsight, it makes you wonder why the American was even retained to begin with at the end of that year, though Williams' decision to give Logan one more go in 2024 came down to three main reasons. Firstly, he was still a rookie. Rookies make mistakes. I mean, look at Max Verstappen's first year in Formula 1. I hear he's doing pretty well nowadays. Don't get me wrong, I'm not even suggesting in the slightest that Logan is a future multiple world champion, but as many a content creator on this platform will tell you, it's unfair to judge a driver on his first year in the sport. Now, why are you bringing that video up? Reason number two Sargeant was retained came down to who Williams could replace him with. Since the team waited till the end of the year to make the decision, not much was left on the market, and even if there was drivers looking for a seat, Logan's was about as appealing as an 84-year-old's fanny. The only two names potentially on the market were Mercedes test and reserve driver Mick Schumacher and Mercedes test and reserve driver Frederik Vesti. While either choice might have led to some financial benefits from the Silver Arrows, neither were particularly exciting prospects. Vesti had just lost the F2 title to Théo Pourchaire, and Mick Schumacher was... well, the idea was to find someone slightly less crash-prone. The final bit of rationale came down to Sargeant's position as a graduate from the Williams Driver Academy. Only one name had progressed to Formula 1 prior to this, and that was Nicholas Latifi. Compare those names to graduates from Ferrari, or Alpine, or Red Bull's program, and it's not great, is it? Oh, and I guess there is a fourth reason. The team were busy making a documentary on his first year in F1. I figure it would have been pretty awkward to go through all that and then end it with, yeah, so we told him to go f*** himself and sign Mick Schumacher. Determined to finally have a win then, Sargeant was kept on alongside Albon for 2024, and it seemed pretty clear that just from the second round of the season, the team were already regretting that decision. On lap 25 of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Logan found himself behind teammate Albon. The American asked if he could fight, implying that he at least thought he had more pace than the car in front, only to be firmly rejected by the team, a feeling I sadly know all too well. At the next race in Australia, Alex would let his teammate by, though tearing your chassis to bits is probably not the best way of going about this. The damage to Albon's car, plus the fact that Williams hadn't enough spare parts, forced the team to withdraw the tyre driver from the remainder of the weekend. Except they didn't do that, instead taking Logan's machine, sticking an extra 3 on it and handing it to Alex to use going forwards. The move was a gut punch for Logan, especially when the team tried to make things better by clarifying their reasoning, only to admit they weren't confident Logan was capable of scoring points. Alex would end up scoring anyway, and Logan thanked his team by returning in Japan and going straight back to making out with the wall. Just like in 2023, several more high-profile incidents have followed, and if it wasn't obvious already, the chances of the American returning with the outfit for a third season looked all but gone. It got to the point that when Carlos Sainz was confirmed alongside Albon for next year, the team didn't even officially announce Logan's departure, simply thanking him in the same statement and publishing a video of their factory having a rave at the news, only further fueling rumours that Sargeant's relationship with team boss James Vowles were on par with those between Lando Norris and Grill the Grid. This guy seriously doesn't want to be here, does he? Murmurings of a mid-season swap have been bubbling since Miami, where an anonymous team put forward a request to the FIA to grant Kimi Antonelli a super license to race in Formula 1. They then resurfaced just before the summer break, when James Vowles hinted at a change in the media pen, and while Logan survived both of these, his latest crash at Zandvoort really hasn't helped his cause much. After the weekend, Vowles said that he, quote, doesn't want to make an emotional decision now, but will evaluate his options in the week running up into Monza. With only a few days before opening practice, making that change won't be an easy one. You've got to formally end things with Logan, sign on a new driver, and then only start to acclimatise them in the car with seat fits and simulator running. That said, they've been able to do this before when Alex Albon's appendix picked a fight with Alex Albon. The next round being at the Temple of Speed also weighs into that decision. It's a track that recent history has proven the team go well around. Hell, they were so good they even managed to make Nick de Vries look competent back in 2022 and get him a race seat with AlphaTauri. With Williams currently 9th in the Constructors and having an outside chance of potentially being able to catch Alpine for 8th, maximising their opportunities in the final 9 races of the year will be vital. Minimising crash damage and directing as much funding as possible to 2025 and beyond will also be tantamount. So when you consider we have both Baku and Singapore on the horizon, maybe it is time to finally move on from Logie Bear here. So who makes up that new driver then? Well, it appears the shortlist is down to 2 options. Firstly, it won't be Kimi Antonelli, who Mercedes have confirmed will drive for the team in FP1 instead, ahead of his inevitable announcement as Lewis Hamilton's replacement for next season. Instead, Toto Wolff has offered up Mick Schumacher's services again, and while the driver with 2 seasons experience might come in handy at Monza, again we're looking for someone who's not magnetically attracted to the wall. You've also got the added complexities of Schumacher's existing WEC commitments, after the German's desperation to get behind the wheel of a race car saw him agree to drive Alpines this year. Both the races in Baku and Brazil would clash with the schedule, and I have a pretty decent feeling Logan won't fancy being recalled for either of those races because his replacement was too busy. That leaves us with the other avenue of Williams telling the Silver Arrows to stuff it and instead turn to Red Bull. They would be offering Liam Lawson for the remainder of the year, the Kiwi of course sitting on the sidelines this season, which we're more than well aware of as the cameras pan to him every time Ricciardo does as little as run wide. With Red Bull evaluating Lawson for a promotion to one of their cars for 2025 anyway, and Williams' seats already locked down for next season, this would act as a safe bet to further test Liam to see if his stand-in performances for Daniel in 2023 weren't just a fluke. It also gives him more experience if the team were really thinking about placing him next to Verstappen for next year, which I just want to say is a stupid decision that risks curtailing his career, but this is Red Bull at the end of the day. The only thing standing in Liam's way are Mercedes, who might use their influence over the Williams team to veto said move, or Christian Horner, who appears to be dead set on pissing over Helmut Marko, who spent all season sucking Lawson off. It would be a shame to see Red Bull's nuclear politics play a role here, but again, given what I've seen already this year, it would come as no surprise whatsoever. There's also the possibility Red Bull need to draft Lawson back to the fold the moment the team have managed to scrape Sergio Perez's hard drive of incriminating evidence. And then you've got to remember that Lawson would find himself in competition with his own team in RB. And if he's as good as Helmut Marko's diary says he is, that might be something the team want to avoid. What do I think then? Well, knowing that whatever I say will age like a Kennedy anyway, I actually wouldn't be surprised if Logan remains in that car for at least one more week. With the double-headed nature of the calendar at the moment, I think it would make more sense to see Sargeant dropped ahead of the following race in Azerbaijan. And if I had to take a bet on who would replace him then, I'm starting with Liam Lawson. That move just makes too much sense in my mind to not give it a go for the final few rounds of the year. What do you think though? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you'd enjoyed, I'd appreciate a like on the video and a click on the subscribe button to help the channel grow. A big thank you to all the patrons and members who got early access to this video, so if that kind of thing appeals to you, then head over to the links down in the description. And if you want my thoughts on the entirety of the Dutch Grand Prix, then you can click on the card on screen now and see the comedy review of that one. I'll be back very soon with another video, but until then, have a good one.